Well, as the conflict with Iran continues, America's weapons stockpiles are lower than most military planners would like.
Researchers at the Center for Strategic and International Studies estimate the number of missile interceptors the U.S. has decreased, which could put a strain on how U.S. forces defend against future Iranian attacks. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is still calling on Congress to pass the department's budget, which requires $67 billion for the war with Iran. The House approved the Pentagon's $1 trillion budget request last week. That budget stalled in the Senate. On Thursday, the Senate also tried and failed to pass a resolution forcing President Trump to step back from the war. This is the 13th time the Senate has voted on the war powers measure this year. President Trump says he may pull his nomination for Attorney General. Todd Blanche is currently the acting AG. He still has not been confirmed by the Senate due to several outstanding questions from senators like Texas's John Cornyn. Mr. Trump said he wants to avoid conceding to Republicans over the Justice Department's settlement agreement between himself and the IRS. That settlement gave him and his family immunity from tax audits. It also cleared the way for his so-called anti-weaponization fund. The president is considering tabling the nomination until after midterms. Let's bring in Fox News anchor Shannon Bream with Fox News Sunday. Joining me now. Good morning.
Hello, Shannon.
So as we just reported, the president may pull his nomination for Attorney General. Shannon, this comes after a lot of questions from senators like John Cornyn. What are their concerns?
So they're worried about that detail that you said, this idea that the president, his family, in some way would be beyond the scope of IRS enforcement or audits, those kinds of things. And so what they're saying is that in their meetings and conversations with Todd Blanche one-on-one, that they're being told that what is being represented publicly is not accurate. And so they say, okay, great, just put that in writing. What you have told us, put it in writing, and then we can move forward. Todd Blanche can stay in this role indefinitely. There's no limit on him like there is under some federal statutory language for other acting appointments. So he can stay there. The president, again, saying, as you noted, that he maybe pulls that nomination, makes it formal later. But that also is the assumption that Republicans hold on to the Senate. And come January, if he wants to renominate Todd Blanche, that they're still in control of the upper chamber.
Another story we're following. President Trump says his board of peace working on a potential deal with terrorist group Hamas to stop the fighting in Gaza. Shannon, he posted about this on Truth Social.
He did, and he wants it to move forward. Here's the thing. There are a lot of skeptics because it would require Hamas to disarm and dismantle. It would require Israel to leave the Gaza Strip, and then there would be some kind of governing Palestinian authority that would be put together, some type of government entity. Well, Hamas says, we're not disarming until Israel pulls out. Israel's like, we got safety concerns. We're not pulling out until they disarm. So for a lot of people, it looks promising on paper, but there is real skepticism about whether it can play out in reality.
Any response from Hamas or Israel?
Well, it's interesting. Hamas it's being trumpeted as they've agreed to it. Well, what they're saying is we don't agree to this part about us disarming first. Like we like the contours of this. It's not a formal agreement, but Israel's got to leave before we disarm. Israel, the same thing, very skeptical, saying we've got real safety concerns about just walking away from that Gaza Strip and protecting along our border. So nobody is saying it's a done deal, and there is a lot of pushback to what's on paper.
All right, let's talk about the show this weekend. You've got a couple of guests coming on.
We do. We've got James Lankford. He is in GOP Senate leadership. And listen, they're often at odds right now with the president about what he wants to get done and what they say the math can allow them to get done. So we'll talk about that internal debate, about big things like the Save America Act on voter ID, but also funding the government. You've also got on the other side of the aisle, we'll have Congressman Ro Khanna, and he's pretty progressive, and he's out there campaigning with progressives. But the conversation is, are the Democratic Socialists of America now running the Democrat Party, or who is going to run it moving forward, especially as you look to the midterms and more importantly to 2028. So we'll have those conversations.
All right, Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream airs right here on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Shannon, thanks so much.